Hard, yep. The Senate will come to order. Leading us in prayer today is the Reverend John Fetty, who's a retired minister here in Pierre. Following the prayer, the Pledge of Allegiance will be led by the Senate page of the day, Lindsay Ronning from Hill City High School.
Let us pray. Almighty God, you who have given us life and liberty and happiness, we thank you, Lord, for what you've given us in the past, and we look forward to the abilities and help you've given us in the past and then today too, Lord. Be with each family represented here, and Lord, endow each legislator that we may have the wisdom and ability to conduct the affairs set before them. Be with each family again, Lord, and be with our military. Grant them safety. Grant their leaders wisdom. Father, we look forward to the answers to our prayers. For this I ask in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The Secretary will call the roll.
Senators Beal, Blanc, Carley, Crabtree, Davis, Dybert, Duhamel, Foster, Grove, Hone, Howard, Hulse, Jensen, Carr, Colbeck, Lapke, Larson, Marty, Melhoff, Miskimmons, Nelson, Otten, Perry, Peterson, Pischke, Reed, Roll, Sauter, Shanefish, Smith, Vilhauer, Voigt, Voida, Whip, and Zickman. Mr. President, we have a quorum.
Approval of the journal.
Mr. President, the Committee on Legislative Procedure reports that the Secretary of the Senate has had under consideration the Senate Journal of the 30th day. All errors, typographical or otherwise, are duly marked in the temporary journal for correction. And we hereby move adoption of the report. Submitted, Chris Carr, Chair.
That has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. That carries. Ladies and gentlemen, at the Senate at this time, I'm going to welcome our doctor of the day, and it is once again Dr. Noel Chicoine. Let's welcome him back to the chamber. And I would also ask you to help me welcome my parents who are here visiting me today, Keith and Nan Venhuizen, constituents of Senator Zickman's. If you would stand, welcome them. Senator Davis. That is granted.
Thank you, Mr. President. Also up in the gallery, we have the South Dakota Agribusiness Association Board of Directors and people that are here with their association. Just wanted to have them stand up, be recognized. We'd love to welcome you to our Senate. This association, the Agribusiness Association, they are a group that of individuals that represent ag retail, grain, seed, crop protection, and all the other allied businesses across the state, and they help guide the association's work. So thank you guys so much for being here, and please help me welcome them to our Capitol.
Welcome. Senator Whip. That is granted.
Thank you. We have a Conservation Award winner with us today from Spink County. Mr. Shane Jordan was the recipient of the Hugh Hammond Bennett National Award for Conservation Excellence. He is the NRCS Conservationist in Spink County. That is where I'm proud to farm. And I'll just say he's had a very positive influence on our part of the world as it relates to conservation, rather. And I'd ask that you help me welcoming him to the Senate.
Welcome. Communications.
Mr. President and members of the Senate, I have the honor to inform you that on March 3rd, 2026, I approved Senate Bills 20, 55, and 72, and the same have been deposited in the office of the Secretary of State. Submitted, Larry Roden, Governor.
Reports of standing committees.
Mr. President, the Committee on Senate Health and Human Services reports that it has had the following under consideration and returns with the following recommendations. House Bill 1220 be amended and do pass. House Bills 1292 and 1299 do pass and, having been certified uncontested, be placed on the consent calendar. Submitted, Kevin Jensen, Chair. Also, Mr. President, the Committee on Senate Education reports that it has had the following under consideration and returns the following recommendations. House Bill 1017 and 1082 do pass. House Bills 1311 do pass and, having been certified uncontested, be placed on the consent calendar. Submitted, Kyle Shanefish. The Committee on Senate Commerce and Energy reports it has had the following under consideration and returns the following recommendations. House Bill 1173 was deferred to the 41st legislative day. House Bills 1180 and 1238 do pass and, having been certified as uncontested, be placed on the consent calendar. Submitted, Casey Crabtree, Chair. And, Mr. President, the Committee on Senate Agriculture and Natural Resources reports that it has had the following under consideration and returns the following recommendations. House Bill 1263 do pass. Consideration of the nomination of Kevin Nyberg of Lincoln County, Sioux Falls, South Dakota, to the Game Fish and Parks Commission, and returns the recommendation that the Senate advise and consent to the confirmation of said appointment. Also, the consideration of the nomination of Chuck Spring of Meade County, Union Center, South Dakota, to the Game Fish and Parks Commission, and returns the recommendation that the Senate advise and consent to the confirmation of said appointment. Submitted, Tom Pischke, Chair. The Committee on Legislative Procedure reports that the Office of Engrossing and Enrolling has carefully compared Senate Bills 35, 60, 87, 111, 154, 176, 177, 236, and 237, and finds all correctly enrolled. And the Committee on Legislative Procedure reports that Senate Bills 14, 21, 114, and 153 were all delivered to His Excellency the Governor for his approval at 9:12 a.m., March 3rd, 2026. Submitted, Chris Carr, Chair.
Reports of conference committees.
Mr. President, the Senate Bill 3A Conference Committee on Senate Bill 3 respectfully reports that it is considered the disagreement between the two houses and returns the same with the recommendation that said bill be amended to 3E. Submitted, Michael Roll, Chair.
Messages.
Mr. President, I have the honor to return herewith Senate Bills 35, 60, 87, 154, 176, 177, 236, and 237, which have all passed the House without change. I also have the honor to inform you that Senate Bill 223 was lost on second reading and final passage. Senate Bills 36 and 164 have been amended by the House, and your concurrence in the amendments is requested. Senate Bill 93 was tabled. I also have the honor to inform you that the House has concurred in Senate amendments to 1188. And finally, I have the honor to transmit House Bill 1200, which has passed the House, and your favorable consideration is requested. Respectfully, Patricia Miller, Chief Clerk.
Motions and resolutions.
Senator Melhoff moved that House Bills 1244, 1262, 1134, and 1135 be deferred to Wednesday, March 4th, 2026, the 32nd legislative day.
That has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. That carries.
Senator Carr moves that House Bill 1082 be referred from the Committee on Senate Education to the Committee on Senate Appropriations.
That has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. That carries.
Senator Reed moves that the Senate do concur in House amendments to Senate Bill 89.
Is there a second? It's been moved by Senator Reed and seconded that the Senate concur in House amendments to Senate Bill 89. Are there any remarks? Senator Reed.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yes, I'd ask that you please concur with the amendments. They were amendments that I added over in House committee. We narrowly defeated Senate Bill 211 that had to do with out-of-network emergency medical service payments. And what we're going to do here is we put it into here to study it only. This does not change any of the rates. This is just to make sure that this is part of our study that Senate Bill 89 sets up for the coming interim. So I would appreciate your support and concur. Thank you.
Thank you. Further remarks on the motion to concur? Seeing no further remarks, this is a roll call vote. When your name is called, those in favor vote aye, those opposed nay. The Secretary will call the roll.
Senators Beal excused, Blanc, Carly, Crabtree, Davis, Dibert, Duhamel, Foster, Grove, Hone, Howard, Hulse, Jensen, Carr, Colbeck, Lapke, Larson, Marty, Melhoff, Miskimmons, Nelson, Otten, Perry, Peterson, Pischke, Reed, Roll, Sauter, Shanefish, Smith, Vilhauer, Voigt, Voida, Whip, Zickman, Otten, excused. Mr. President, we have 29 yeas, 4 nays, 2 excused.
So that motion having received an affirmative vote of a majority of the members elect, the president declares the motion carried and the amendments concurred in.
Senator Hulse moves that the Senate do concur in House amendments to Senate Bill 180.
It's been moved by Senator Hulse and seconded that the Senate concur in House amendments to Senate Bill 180. Are there any remarks? Senator Hulse.
Thank you, Mr. President. This was another amendment that was actually done by me in conjunction with the Department of Public Safety. Subsection 3 was removed because it would have placed into state law a requirement for driver's licensing to issue non-domiciled CDLs to applicants employed in another state if that state's CDL program had been decertified. While the provision exists in federal regulations as an option, it is not mandatory, and we did not want to codify it in state law because that would have made issuance to those applicants mandatory. That was not the intent of the bill, and I and the Secretary did not believe it's appropriate to have that in there, even though it was in the federal law, and so I would appreciate your concurrence. Thank you.
Thank you. Further remarks on that motion? Seeing no further remarks, this is a roll call vote. When your name is called, those in favor vote aye, those opposed nay. The Secretary will call the roll.
Senators Beal excused, Blanc, Carly, Crabtree, Davis, Dybert, Duhamel, Foster, Grove, Hone, Howard, Hulse, Jensen, Carr, Colbeck, Lapke, Larson, Marty, Melhoff, Miskimmons, Nelson, Otten, Perry, Peterson, Pischke, Reed, Roll, Sauter, Shanefish, Smith, Vilhauer, Voigt, Voida, Whip, Zickman, Foster. Mr. President, we have 34 yeas, 1 excused.
So the motion having received an affirmative vote of a majority of the members elect, the president declares the motion carried and the amendments concurred in.
Senator Dybert moves that the Committee on Senate Appropriations be instructed to deliver House Bill 1089 to the floor of the Senate pursuant to Joint Rule 7-7.
Is there a second? It's been moved by Senator Dybert and seconded that the Committee on Appropriations be instructed to deliver House Bill 1089 pursuant to Rule 7-7. That is the smokeout rule. Are there any remarks? Senator Dybert.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members of the body, I ask you to support this today. This bill came through committee in the House with no opposition. It came through the House floor, and in either case, there was no votes. It was unanimous in the committee and on the floor. It came to Senate Appropriations, and there was no opposing testimony, and some of the proponents were not able to testify because of an IT issue. With all those things combined, I think this is worth a debate on the floor. Please support this.
Further remarks on that motion? Senator Otten.
We did have IT problems that day, and I would agree that let's bring it to the floor.
Further remarks? Seeing no further remarks, the question is Senator Dybert's motion to smoke out House Bill 1089 according to Joint Rule 77. Is he supported? Stand if he is supported. He is. Before we move on, I have a couple more acknowledgments I will read at this time. We should thank Americans for Prosperity of South Dakota for breakfast in the President's and Speaker's lobbies. I think I ate breakfast 3 times today. And thank you to the Farmers Union for lunch in the Capitol Rotunda today, which was very good. Let's give them a round of applause. Consideration of committee reports.
Senator Melhoff moves that the report of the Standing Committee on State Affairs on House Bill 1209, as found on page 421 of the Senate Journal, be adopted.
That has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. That motion carries. First reading of House bills.
House Bill 1200, make an appropriation for victim services provided by nonprofit organizations.
Committee referral of House Bill 1200 has been waived according to Joint Rule 61. The consent calendar.
Today on consent, we have 2 bills. House Bill 1199 address prior authorization and reporting requirements by utilization review organizations and health carriers. Also, House Bill 1250 revise the types of community-based providers for purposes of state-funded services.
Items on the consent calendar were reported out of committee with no dissenting votes and are not subject to debate. Only questions for clarification purposes are appropriate. There will be 1 vote taken for all bills on the consent calendar. Are there any questions at this time? Seeing none, the question before the Senate is, shall the items on the consent calendar pass? As your name is called, those in favor vote aye, those opposed nay. The Secretary will call the roll.
Senators Beal excused, Blanc, Carly, Crabtree, Davis, Dybert, Duhamel, Foster, Grove, Hone, Howard, Hulse, Jensen, Carr, Kolbeck, Lapke, Larson, Marty, Melhoff, Miss Gimmons, Nelson, Otten, Perry, Peterson, Fischke, Reed, Roll, Sauter, Shanefish, Smith, Vilhauer, Voigt, Voida, Whip, Zickman. Mr. President, we have 34 yeas, 1 excused.
So the items on the consent calendar, having received an affirmative vote of a majority of the members elect, the president declares the consent calendar items passed. Are there any questions on the titles? Seeing none, they are deemed correct. We are up to the debate calendar, second reading of House bills.
House Bill 1048. An act to make an appropriation for the expansion of broadband infrastructure and to declare an emergency.
House Bill 1048, having had its second reading, is up for consideration and final passage. Are there any remarks? Senator Vilhauer.
Thank you, Mr. President. Well, when I pick up my cell phone or you open up your laptop, there's an expectation that you're going to get reliable, relatively fast internet service. And since 2019, between federal, state, and private contributions, we have spent over $300 million to expand broadband in this state. And if you ever look at a map of what we had before versus what we have now, it's very good coverage. However, not everyone enjoys that. You look at pockets of the state that still have problems. You look at the Black Hills area. You even look at some places around Sioux Falls that don't have reliable internet coverage. Well, House Bill 1048 provides $87 million in federal fund expenditure authority to cure this problem. And I said that's all federal funds, no general fund dollars involved here. That will take care of most of the problem areas yet within the state. And we may look at internet coverage as a convenience at times, but I tell you what, that is life-saving critical access that we need oftentimes in today's day and age. So I would ask for your support on this federal fund expenditure authority with no general fund dollars involved. Thank you.
Thank you. Further remarks on House Bill 1048? Senator Howard.
Thank you, Mr. President. Well, I would ask for a no vote on this. I'm glad that the Prime did point out that this was federal dollars, but I would like to remind everyone that federal funds are still taxpayer funds. These are still taxpayer dollars. I'll never forget the first year I was here and we were voting on something and it had federal fund authority and somebody said, well, it's free money. It's free money. And I'm like, no, it's not. Because we're all federal taxpayers as well as state taxpayers. So as was pointed out, this state, as state taxpayers, we have already contributed more than $84 million in general fund dollars to high-speed broadband since 2019. As federal taxpayers, we have already contributed more than $88 million in federal fund taxpayer dollars. And I'm going to remind you that we do have a free market that works quite well. We have Starlink. We have the ability. The few homes, there are so few homes that do not have high-speed broadband, there are other options out there. When our subdivision decided we wanted high-speed broadband, there was no government assistance. We didn't get any taxpayers to come in and say, hey, we'll help you pay for your high-speed broadband. No, our subdivision banded together. We went to CenturyLink. We said, if we get this many homes who agree to sign on for your service, will you come in and do this? And they said, yes, absolutely. There is a free market. We still live in a free market society, although I wonder sometimes. We are $39 trillion in debt. I want to remind everybody that. And we had DOGE, and they were doing a great job earlier. I wonder if they would approve of this expenditure when it's not necessary. It is not necessary. It's putting us more in debt. Reagan is one of my all-time favorite presidents. He once said, we have deficits because big government spends too much. This is an example of that. This is not necessary. Allow the free market to work. He also said the problem is not the size of the deficit, it's the size of government's claim on our economy. We see that all the time. Government is encroaching in more and more areas of our economy. I mean, heaven help us, how did we survive before the federal government decided to do everything for us from cradle to grave? He also went on and said the deficit doctors have their scalpels out all right, but they're not poised over the budget. That's as fat as ever and getting fatter. What they're ready to operate on is your wallet. That's what this comes down to. These are still taxpayer funds. This is not necessary. I'm asking you to please vote no.
Thank you. Further remarks on House Bill 1048? Senator Roll.
Question for the Chair of Appropriations.
State your question.
Mr. Chair, if for some reason we didn't approve this money, would we be able to spend it on other things in the state? Would it be reverted back to the federal government to pay down our debt? Or would it be reverted back to other states to be able to use?
So I think that was for Senator Otten. Do you wish to respond?
Why not? That goes back to the federal government.
Further remarks, Senator Roll?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Well, I would ask the body to support this motion. We're not debating general funds that maybe we could use for education or we could use for another cause. This was allocated by the federal government for us to use. If we're not using this, it goes back to the federal government to be resent out to other states. And while I agree it is taxpayer dollars, my taxpayers in my district want a return for the taxes that they paid in. So paying their taxes in, if we don't do this, we're just going to pay for another state to get the benefit of that. I would encourage the body to get some value to your taxpayers for the money that they paid in.
Thank you. Further remarks? Senator Otten.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good senator from Pennington. Much of her remarks I agree with. You know, all the way across the board. I live in a little town, well, I actually live outside of town in T, and before we actually got our line past our place, we now have internet because of what this legislature had done. But before that, many years, when I had to do my work at home, you know, you drive home and you're doing your work and whatnot. Well, we also had a big dish out back aimed at Rowena, trying to pick up a signal, and that was so spotty that, you know, sometimes you got it, sometimes you didn't, and so I would drive into T itself, and I'd be parked alongside of Avera Hospital Clinic, and that's how I got my link. And then normally, since it was about 11 o'clock at night, about 11:10, the town cop would drive by, and I'd have to motion at him, yeah, it's me again, just, you know, leave me alone. And so we did. We also had a satellite connection that we went and bought. I won't mention the name, but that was even worse than our dish that we did have. But I want to take everybody back 100 years ago, something called electricity and REA. Now, why in the world would a government run a line out to a rancher 60 miles from home or 60 miles from a town and give him electricity? At that time, you could buy not Johnson, there was an electrical generator that you could get that worked off of Jacobs generator that worked off of wind and whatnot. They didn't need that. You can go get that, get a battery, charge it, be done with it. And yet we chose to do that. And where would we be today without that? I mean, little Pier here, I mean, it's almost as hodunk as little T was, you know, little Mayberry. Why would you spend the money to get just a few hundred residents? It's because there is a need, and everybody recognizes there is a need. And with the internet, it's going to be the same thing. The only thing that I could relate it to is old Dick Tracy with his little watch that, you know, he talked to people. And of course, that was fantasy back then. I mean, who would ever dream that you could have a watch that you could talk to things, or that the watch would talk to you? The same thing is the issue here. We do not know where we're going in another 50 years, but I guarantee you, what we're going to be laying out here, the foundation of this, our great-grandkids are going to thank us for it. It is that fundamental of a switch in how we're actually going to deal with things. And so I would ask your support on this. I think that it is something needful. And if you'd have talked to me when the first computer came out, whatever it was, 20 years ago, I mean, why in the world do you need that kind of crap? In fact, when I actually got here, and I was over in the Senate the first time, I didn't have a phone. I got elected for part of leadership. And then all of a sudden, leadership says you got to get a phone. Well, I don't need a phone. You want to come talk to me? Find me. And now here I am today with a phone. So just everybody, just please take a chill pill. Really think this thing through. Because at the end of the day, this is going to change South Dakota. And those few areas that are, you know, my wife, she uses it all the time. She thanks you for the money that you made that investment, that we got that. And so, and I'm very grateful that I don't have to. Anyway, I'm going to stop right there before I get in trouble. Thank you, Mr. President.
Bet you were happier before you had the phone. Senator Smith.
Thank you, Mr. President. Well, I rise in support of this bill, and I come from the most dense urban area of the state. And I have a really good friend who was on the other side with me that lived in Eagle Butte. A lot of you know him. He's in town today, wears a big hat every time you see him. And, you know, he had better internet service than I did. And I'm glad for him that he had that. I can tell you this last year, we finally got fiber to our house right in the middle of Sioux Falls. Okay? But I'm really glad that they have that in Eagle Butte, too. You know what is allowing us as a state to stay competitive and to do all the things we do? To educate our kids and to have businesses and be able to live in rural communities and still have access to cutting-edge technology? It's the internet. Just like was said by the previous speaker with the REA and electricity, this allows South Dakota to live its rural life if they want to. And actually, many of the rural areas are way ahead of the urban areas when it came to fiber, which is awesome. Let's get it evened out so everybody has those opportunities for broadband everywhere. This will close those last gaps, and I support it 100%. Thank you.
Thank you. Further remarks? Boy. Senator Souter.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise in support of this bill as well. Being part of a telecom cooperative, I think the areas that are suffering from poor coverage maybe need to be part of a cooperative. But anyhow, I've seen the map that the District 5 Senator talked about, and yes, the Black Hills especially are suffering from coverage. That's because it costs incredibly amount of money to break through the granite and the marble and whatever stone is out there. You don't just dig it in like we do here on the east side of the river. It costs a lot of money. This money that we're talking about today would help those people, your constituents from Rapid City. This is essential for the rest of our state, and I don't know why the southeastern part of the state doesn't have it, maybe because of their courts or whatever, but my point is we have to vote this in, because like a previous speaker said, our grandchildren and our great-grandchildren will appreciate that. It's not just about today, it's about our future.
Thank you. Further remarks, Senator Carley.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise in opposition of this for a number of reasons. First of all, there is no expectation in the Constitution that we suddenly all have to have fiber to our house. I'm not sure where that concept comes from. I'll also mention, since I'm in the Black Hills, I think that was mentioned 2 or 3 times, that we are suffering in the Black Hills because we don't have fiber. Now, I'll just give a perfect example. I'm in the Black Hills. There was no fiber to my house. So was I suffering? No. There are multiple technologies. We are living in the past if we think fiber must be spent $87 million to get us covered. So what do I do if I want internet in the Black Hills and I don't have fiber? Well, I call up Starlink, and I pay a small $50 to $60 a month fee, and you know what? I have incredible high-speed internet right at my house with no fiber needed to come there. Okay, let's say I didn't like Elon Musk. Okay, well, I could go to Amazon. Amazon now has a low Earth orbit satellite system. I can use theirs. Little dish in my backyard, set it up, good, I'm good to go, 50, 60 bucks. How about HughesNet? This got blamed. Oh, years ago I had HughesNet and it was slow, so that's why we need fiber. Yeah, that is true. It used to be that way. Maybe fiber was good 5, 10 years ago. Now, you can get high-speed HughesNet as well. Finally, WiMAX. I don't know if anyone uses that. You don't even need satellite for that. So there are plenty of technologies to get high-speed internet to anyone in South Dakota, anyone. ultimately, this $87 million, you know, oh, it's going to benefit our grandkids and the taxpayers. It's going to do something for our kids and taxpayers. You know what it's going to do? It's going to bring inflation to them. So a few years from now, when we waste this money of $87 million, when we do not need it to get high speed to every single geographic spot in South Dakota, that it will be coming back to our kids and grandkids as inflation. Ultimately, this is a grift of taxpayer funds. I don't support continuing the free ride, so please vote no.
Thank you. Further remarks, Senator Jensen.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm kind of still on the fence on this one, but I like to think what happens, you know, the old, if we do this, then what happens? We might lay this fiber in front of every home, but that doesn't give them access. The internet providers that have access to that fiber are the ones that give them access. So just because we run the fiber there doesn't mean they have internet access. Now they got to pay $60 to $100 a month for internet access service to the internet service providers. Of course, on the other side of that, we will collect some state sales tax and we will collect some federal taxes. But the bottom line, putting this into those homes does not give them free internet. Everybody has to pay a service provider of some sort. So I just want you to think about that is just because we run the fiber does not mean they got access. Thank you.
Thank you. Further remarks? Senator Vilhauer in closing.
Thank you, Mr. President. First of all, I don't disagree with the good senator from Pennington County. A good share or some of that debt is my debt, my kids' debt, my grandchildren's debt. I don't argue that. But today I represent the citizens of South Dakota, and this is something that does benefit our state. And like the good senator from Brown County said, is that if we don't use it, somebody else will take advantage of it. Please vote yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no further remarks, the question before the Senate is final passage of House Bill 1048. Because of the appropriation and the emergency clause, this bill requires a 2/3 majority vote. When your name is called, those in favor vote aye, those opposed nay. The Secretary will call the roll.
Senators Beal excused, Blanc, Carly, Crabtree, Davis, Dibert, Duhamel, Foster, Grove, Hone, Howard, Hulse, Jensen, Carr, Colbeck, Lapke, Larson, Marty, Melhoff, Ms. Gimmons, Nelson, Otten, Perry, Peterson, Pischke, Reed, Roll, Sauter, Shanefish, Smith, Vilhauer, Voigt, Voida, Whip, Zickman. Mr. President, we have 22 yeas, 12 nays, 1 excused.
So, House Bill 1048 having failed to receive an affirmative vote of a 2/3 majority of the members elect, the President declares the bill lost. Senator Vilhauer.
Intent to reconsider.
That's noted.
House Bill 1066, an act to revise a provision related to theft by a contractor, subcontractor, or supplier.
House Bill 1066, having had its second reading, is up for consideration and final passage. Are there any remarks? Senator Howard.
Thank you, Mr. President. So House Bill 1066 is cleaning up our theft statutes in regards to fraud or theft by contractors, subcontractors, or suppliers involving real estate. Currently, cases are not being prosecuted because there's no clear way of prosecuting these cases, and people are losing their life savings to fraudulent contractors. Currently, if I pay a contractor to re-roof my home and he simply takes off with my money, there's no way to criminally prosecute him. You have to receive the money, then spend it on something, but never do the work to be charged with theft. With this change, this doesn't require the expenditure in order to be charged for theft. And this did come about, we started, the House Prime and I started looking into this when a constituent brought an issue to us. Basically, they'd paid a contractor to come do work in their home, and oh my goodness, the thousands and thousands that they have spent going through mediation. This guy just took off with his girlfriend to New York, and the constituent was out the money. She paid them. She still had to pay the subcontractors. It was a disaster. We went to the AG's office, talked to them. Basically, we were told there's nothing really that can help them in state law. So that started this process of working on this. The AG came and testified in favor of this. The state's attorneys are in favor of this. Even a local sheriff's office, I believe. Well, I'm not going to say what county because I'm not for sure, but they came and testified because they see this problem over and over again. So I would ask for a yes vote on this.
Thank you. Further remarks on House Bill 1066? Seeing no further remarks, the question before the Senate is final passage of House Bill 1066. When your name is called, those in favor vote aye, those opposed nay. The Secretary will call the roll.
Senators Beal excused, Blanc, Carly, Crabtree, Davis, Dybert, Duhamel, Foster, Grove, Hone, Howard, Hulse, Jensen, Carr, Kolbeck, Lapke, Larson, Marty, Melhoff, Miss Gimmons, Nelson, Otten, Perry, Peterson, Pischke, Reed, Roll, Sauter, Shanefish, Smith, Vilhauer, Voigt, Voida, Whip, Zickman, Blanc, Lapke. Mr. President, we have 31 yeas, 3 nays, 1 excused.
So House Bill 1066, having received an affirmative vote of a majority of the members elect, the President declares the bill passed. Are there any questions on the title? Seeing none, it's deemed correct.
House Bill 1095, an act to modify provisions pertaining to the submission of a nominating petition.
House Bill 1095, having had its second reading, is up for consideration and final passage. Are there any remarks? Senator Hulse.
Thank you, Mr. President. House Bill 1095 establishes a consistent deadline for when candidates must submit completed nominating petitions to the Secretary of State or to their local election officials. Last year, the legislature made a significant change by passing HB 1130, which we all know consolidates the municipal, school, and county elections on the same election date. That decision reshaped how elections are administered statewide. Late filings, unclear deadlines, and last-minute changes can create certainty. So House Bill 1095 helps reduce that risk by establishing a clear enforceable deadline and providing election officials additional time to verify petitions, prepare ballots, and administer elections confidently and transparency. The bill does not apply to elections this year and will only go into effect July 1st. It does not have an emergency clause, and I will not be amending the bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Further remarks on House Bill 1095? Seeing no further remarks, the question before the Senate is final passage of House Bill 1095. When your name is called, those in favor vote aye, those opposed nay. The Secretary will call the roll.
Senators Beal excused, Blanc? Carly? Crabtree? Davis? Dibert? Duhamel? Foster? Grove? Hone? Howard? Hulse? Jensen? Carr? Colbeck? Lapke? Larson? Marty? Melhoff? Miskimmons? Nelson? Otten? Perry? Peterson? Pischke? Reed? Roll? Sauter? Shanefish? Smith? Vilhauer? Voigt? Voida? Whipf? Zickman? Carly? Foster? Mr. President, we have 26 yeas, 8 nays, 1 excused.
So House Bill 1095, having received an affirmative vote of a majority of the members elect, the President declares the bill passed. Are there any questions on the title? Seeing none, it is deemed correct.
House Bill 1179, an act to modify provisions related to the reimbursement fee for preparation of a garnishment disclosure.
House Bill 1179, having had its second reading, is up for consideration and final passage. Are there any remarks? Senator Whipf.
Thank you, Mr. President. So this bill really, at first we just sought to address the fee that employers get when they're processing a garnishment for a collections agent. And that fee was $15 for many years, had not been adjusted. In the first version of the bill, we came with a $50 proposal and then got some pushback from the debt collectors, of course. So we entered into some negotiations and we came out with what is in front of you now, a $40 fee, that's per quarter, not per pay period, by the way. And an improvement from the debt collector's perspective is that now, under current law, every time they have to send a letter just to query an employer to see, does this person work for you? Can you process this garnishment for us? They are having to pay the $15 fee. We're trying to fix that with this bill, so the fee is $40, but it is returned to you if the garnishee is no longer employed at the place where you send the query.
All right, further remarks? Seeing no further remarks, the question before the Senate is final passage of House Bill 1179. When your name is called, those in favor vote aye, those opposed nay. The Secretary will call the roll.
Senators Beal excused, Blanc? No. Carly? No. Crabtree? Aye. Davis? Aye. Dibert? Aye. Duhamel? Aye. Foster? Grove? Hone? Howard? Hulse? Jensen? Carr? Colbeck? Lapke? Larson? Marty? Melhoff? Miskimmons? Nelson? Otten? Perry? Peterson? Pischke? Reed? Roll? Sauter? Shanefish? Smith? Vilhauer? Voigt? Voida? Whip? Zickman? Foster? Carr? Mr. President, we have 16 yeas, 18 nays, 1 excused.
So House Bill 1179 having failed to receive an affirmative vote of a majority of the members elect, the President declares the bill lost.
House Bill 1254, an act to exempt any soil amendment used exclusively for agricultural purposes from sales tax.
House Bill 1254, having had its second reading, is up for consideration and final passage. Are there any remarks? Senator Whip.
Thank you, Mr. President. So soil amendments refer mainly to like egg, lime, and gypsum, which would be used to change the pH of the soil. And it never really occurred to any of us in agriculture that these were not already exempt from tax. They look like fertilizer. You buy them at the same places you buy your fertilizer. We use the same equipment to haul and spread them as fertilizer, and egg retailers were never collecting sales tax on them because they didn't know any better. And quite frankly, if it was just egg, lime, and gypsum, it probably never would have come up. But there have been a lot of new products like soil biologicals that you use to sort of feed the living thing that is soil and make it more efficient at what it's doing. And actually, one of the benefits that farmers see from properly amending their soil is a reduction in the traditional fertilizers that we use. Properly amended soil is less subject to erosion because it has a better structure. We've had a lot of good conversations both here on the floor and upstairs about the importance of that. And so these products really allow farmers to more closely align our practices with what the consumer continues to tell us that they want. And so the Department of Revenue has been neutral on this tax exemption because, as I said, no retailers were ever collecting it. Even the state didn't realize that they were supposed to be collecting it. And so we're looking at this as a cleanup, revenue neutral, and I'd ask for a yes vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Further remarks on House Bill 1254? Senator Reed.
Question for the sponsor.
State your question.
Does a soil amendment need to be germane?
Senator Whiff, do you wish to respond to that question?
I really don't, but I've never seen one that isn't. It's always a great idea to feed the living thing that is our soil. Thank you.
Further remarks, Senator Reed.
I have another question.
State your question.
So these soil amendments, would they help with milkweed?
Senator Whiff, you wish to respond to that question?
They could. If the pH of your soil is wrong for growing certain things, I mean, you see it all the time. It would really suffer. So it would be a great idea to pull a soil sample. I'd love to help you one-on-one personally with this. We'll pull a soil sample and we'll get it worked out so that you can grow milkweed and help our monarch friends. Thank you.
Further remarks, Senator Reed.
Appropriately answered. Thank you.
Further remarks, Senator Colbeck.
Question for the sponsor.
State your question.
Does this apply to all 4 levels of soil or just one level of soil?
Senator Whiff, you wish to respond to that?
I'll have to ask what he means.
How about classes of
Soil classifications.
Does it apply to all classes of soil or just one class of soil?
That question is asking about soil. This is about soil amendments, the product themselves. And you can apply them wherever you want.
So you can put an amendment on any soil?
Certainly.
Thank you.
Further remarks, Senator Colbeck?
No, thank you.
Further remarks on 1254, Senator Melhoff.
Thank you, Mr. President. When I saw this bill on consent, I thought I just had to pull it because I was thinking, well, what do we have here? A sales tax exemption, something that we have talked about a lot this year. This is a sales tax exemption I support because it supports the state's largest industry, agriculture. It's a necessity, but I also want to make the point that agriculture employs fewer and fewer people than it used to, and it does not support our smaller communities. And I think this body, the legislature, policymakers need to broaden their mind on diversifying the economy of South Dakota and maybe looking at ways to incentivize further investment to strengthen our small communities and lower our tax base. So I'm going to support this amendment. I'm just going to stand by and watch the vote come in. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Further remarks? Senator Dibert.
Thank you, Mr. President. I don't know if I enjoyed the hazing more than the bill, but I do support this bill and ask you to do the same.
Thank you. Further remarks on House Bill 1254? Further remarks? Senator Whiff, do you have anything you want to say? You don't usually need to rebut questions, but in this case, you may feel the need.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Well, thank you for finally welcoming me to the Senate. I had to wait to the, what is it, the 30-some legislative day, or we're getting right up there, but I appreciate that. Agriculture does support our small communities. I've heard that statement a couple times now on this floor, and it is false. And I would invite you to come out to my community, and I'll show you all the different ways that agriculture, in some of our small communities, agriculture is the only thing left. And you point out rightly that our numbers are dwindling, but that's not on me. 75 years ago, all of y'all lived on farms. If it's so great, how come I'm one of the only ones left? How come there's only a couple of us down here in that line of work? I just think it's wrong-headed that agriculture is not, to say that it's not supporting small communities. It is the backbone of our state. I'm proud to be a part of it, and I'm proud to join you all in voting yes for this today.
Thank you. Seeing no further remarks, the question before the Senate is final passage of House Bill 1254. When your name is called, those in favor vote aye, those opposed nay. The Secretary will call the roll.
Senators Beal excused, Blanc, Carly, Crabtree, Davis, Dibert, Duhamel, Foster, Grove, Hone, Howard, Hulse, Jensen, Carr, Kolbeck, Lapke, Larson, Marty, Melhoff, Miss Gimmons, Nelson, Otten, Perry, Peterson, Pischke, Reed, Roll, Souter, Shanefish, Smith, Vilhauer, Voigt, Voida, Whip, Zickman. Mr. President, we have 28 yeas, 6 nays, 1 excused.
So House Bill 1254, having received an affirmative vote of a majority of the members elect, the President declares the bill passed. Are there any questions on the title? Seeing none, it's deemed correct.
House Bill 1257, an act to amend the definition of an abortion.
House Bill 1257, having had its second reading, is up for consideration and final passage. Are there any remarks? Senator Grove.
Thank you, Mr. President. My esteemed colleagues, today I bring you a bill that feels like I've been working on forever. This bill, I want to just describe a little bit of the context of the bill, HB 1257. It follows the Dobbs decision in June of 2022. At that time, there was a tidal wave of misinformation and I believe, for the most part, disinformation about the effect of pro-life laws on women's health. This occurred both nationally and, sadly, locally. I have distributed to you a handout with some of examples of misinformation, specifically on South Dakota's abortion law. Some you might remember. During our 2024 campaign, we had Amendment G. As you know, the Secretary of State publishes a pamphlet that contains statements for and against measures that are placed on the ballot. A direct quote from the official statement in favor of Amendment G at that time said that politicians in Pierre have thrown miscarriage care into utter confusion and limited available treatment of extreme pregnancy complications. Here's the problem. What if a woman who needed care for a pregnancy complication avoided or delayed seeking treatment because she actually believed the propaganda the South Dakota abortion laws prevent her from getting the care she needs? These falsehoods are potentially dangerous. So if you remember, those of you who were here in the 2024 legislative session, the legislator approved a bill, House Bill 1224, one which I got to work on, which required the Department of Health to consult with the Attorney General and develop an informational video that explains South Dakota abortion law. It passed through the legislature overwhelmingly and was signed by the governor. As a result, the Department of Health released a video in early 2024, which they did a really great job. And the video provides sound guidance on how to correctly interpret our abortion laws. Unfortunately, that did not quell the campaign of misinformation, and so today I bring to you HB 1257, which we call a clarity bill. So if you've checked out the bill, it refers to our current law 2217 5.1, and then it adds this next section, which is 3423A-1. Section 2 goes through some of the terms of the chapter, and then it adds line 6, which is miscarriage, the spontaneous loss of a pregnancy. So I would just ask that today that we pass this bill and get what is already something that we are handing out with our videos that the Secretary Meg said put out, and let's end some of this misinformation so South Dakota women know that they can be provided for and cared for in case of a miscarriage. And I thank you for your vote.
Thank you. Further remarks on House Bill 1257? Further remarks? Seeing no further remarks, the question before the Senate is final passage of House Bill 1257. When your name is called, those in favor vote aye, those opposed nay. The Secretary will call the roll.
Senators Beal excused, Blanc, Carly, Crabtree, Davis, Dibert, Duhamel, Foster, Grove, Hone, Howard, Hulse, Jensen, Carr, Kolbeck, Lapke, Larson, Marty, Melhoff, Miskimmons, Nelson, Otten, Perry, Peterson, Pischke, Reed, Roll, Souter, Shanefish, Smith, Vilhauer, Voigt, Voida, Whip, Zickman, Blanc, Crabtree, Foster, Carr? Mr. President, we have 31 yeas, 2 nays, 2 excused.
So House Bill 1257, having received an affirmative vote of a majority of the members elect, the President declares the bill passed. Are there any questions on the title? Seeing none, it's deemed correct.
House Bill 1286, an act to amend the process by which monies are distributed from the employer's investment in South Dakota's future fund.
House Bill 1286, having had its second reading, is up for consideration and final passage. Are there any remarks? Senator Howard.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was waiting for the bill that was right in front of my bill. So anyways, that must have gotten deferred. So 1286 is about something I think we all should agree on, accountability for taxpayer dollars. And if you listen to the testimony in committee, it is something that a lot of people have agreed on because GOED was there testifying in favor. The Future Fund has been an important economic development tool, but when we invest public money, the public deserves transparency, guardrails, and results, and this bill delivers exactly that. This bill strengthens reporting requirements so legislators and taxpayers can clearly see who is receiving funds, for what purpose, and what jobs are actually being created. It moves the program towards true pay-for-performance by requiring documentation of real project costs before large awards are paid out. It also requires serious upfront vetting. Businesses must submit detailed plans on jobs, wages, and financing before they receive any funds. Agreements will be posted publicly, and GOED must answer to the legislature when asked. And importantly, this bill puts teeth into taxpayer protection. If a project doesn't move forward or fails to meet its commitments, which we all have seen that happen, the money must be repaid. So this doesn't end the Future Fund, it strengthens it, modernizes it, and makes it worthy of taxpayer trust. So I'd ask for your yes vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Further remarks on House Bill 1286? Seeing no further remarks, the question before the Senate is final passage of House Bill 1286. When your name is called, those in favor vote aye, those opposed nay. The Secretary will call the roll.
Senators Beal, excused, Blanc, Carley, Crabtree, Davis, Dibert, Duhamel, Foster, Grove, Hone, Howard, Hulse, Jensen, Carr, Kolbeck, Lapke, Larson, Marty, Melhoff, Ms. Gimmons, Nelson, Otten, Perry, Peterson, Pischke, Reed, Roll, Sauter, Shanefish, Smith, Vilhauer, Voigt, Voida, Whip, Zickman, Foster. Mr. President, we have 33 yeas, 1 nay, 1 excused.
So House Bill 1286, having received an affirmative vote of the majority of the members elect, the President declares the bill passed. Are there any questions on the title? Seeing none, it is deemed correct.
House Bill 1313. An act to require education in prenatal human growth and development.
House Bill 1313, having had its second reading, is up for consideration and final passage. Are there any remarks? Senator Blanc.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have the privilege of bringing you HB 1313, an act to require education in prenatal human growth and development. For many years, South Dakota has been a leader in putting value on the life of babies in the womb, and this bill continues that priority. I'm here to encourage your yes vote on HB 1313, legislation that is a simple addition to existing curriculum to include a short video that shows the awe-inspiring process of what happens in the womb from conception to birth. You all have the link sent to your emails, and I hope that you had a chance to view it. It's only 3 minutes long. You can probably even view it now if you turn the sound down. The bill ensures that students receive accurate, age-appropriate information about the biological development of a human being. Similar bills have been enacted in Idaho and Kansas, North Dakota, Tennessee, Iowa, and Indiana. South Dakota should be next. As I mentioned, this is a simple addition to existing curriculum and creates no hardship on administrators or teachers and will be of great benefit to them and the students that they serve. Districts make the choice to select any videos that meet the requirements, and as always, parents have the right to opt out, yet we don't anticipate that many would feel the need to do that. I was fortunate to sit down with Dr. Graves the other day, have a conversation. You know that he's our Secretary of Education. And in our discussion, I asked, what would be your expertise on how this would actually roll out? And his input was this, that the video or videos could be shown starting in middle school, possibly inserted into the biology class or health occupations or consumer science curriculum. Once the legislation is passed, suggested videos would be submitted to the Department of Education. Then DOE staff would review and select 4 or 5 options and then give individual school districts the freedom to show which video or videos that they would prefer. In addition to having Dr. Graves' support, we also have Steve Perkins' support, who is the president of the Board of Standards. I'm telling you this, we live in an exciting technological age. So using AI-generated videos along with the development of 4D ultrasound will help students realize the developmental science of a baby from conception through the child's anatomical changes and organ development, including the brain, the heart, and other vital organs. Then on through the rest of the pregnancy, culminating in the birth of the baby. So my encouragement, let's equip our youth with information that will be beneficial to them as they develop their personal values on the sanctity of their own life and the lives of those around them. Please vote yes on HB 1313.
Thank you. Further remarks on House Bill 1313, Senator Smith.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. I want to clear up a couple things that were said. First of all, Secretary of Education was not in our committee and did not support this bill on the record, nor did the Board of Education. Those were some private conversations that were had, perhaps, but they weren't supporting the bill. I think that's disingenuous. The other thing that happened in committee that I want you to know about is they said this bill is not political, with a straight face. Yet I want you to look at Section 3, everybody. Tells us who can provide and who can't provide information. One of the things on there is anybody that provides abortion services. That means every hospital in the state of South Dakota that provides an abortion service for the life of a mother, to protect that, can't give you scientific information. So where are you going to get your information from? Sounds a little political. I know how this vote's going to go. I watched what happened over on the other side. I know all of that, but I think we should be informed and genuine about what we're saying. And if it's political, just say it is. So when we do things in here, you need to understand that we talk about science, and by the way, this came through health, but we're putting an educational mandate on the schools in a way that we never do this. This is not the process. Having been an educator serving on the education committee and the health community for a long time, this is not how you do this. This would come through the health standards review process. You would show up, you would make those things. Right now they're doing that. They're designing the health curriculum. They're having their sessions. The community would put input and the schools would get the standards, and then the schools get to decide how they teach it. Instead, we're the legislature are saying you have to show a 3-minute video. It can't be from these people, but it can be from any of our people, and you have to do it. To me, that's just not the way we do things around here. But I know we will. And so I just want you to think about that the next time we vote on other things as well, okay? Thank you.
Thank you. Further remarks on House Bill 1313? Senator Jensen.
Yeah, I will politely disagree with the good senator from Minnehaha County. What we're talking about is a video that shows conception to birth. It has nothing to do with abortion. Nothing whatsoever. This is factual science. This is what happens. The video very clearly shows, and it's an animated video, and it very clearly shows conception to birth. That's all it shows. I don't think you get that from a book. You don't get it from a teacher standing up front and say, this is how it happens. These videos are I would encourage you to look at the video. You can still go back and look at it. It's on the LRC website, but you know, I disagree that it's political because it's factual. This is just the process. It's not saying that somebody can't have that's a totally different realm of education about a miscarriage or an abortion or those kinds of things. It has nothing to do with this very simple process of how we all got here. The only two things we all have in common, we got here the same way, and we're going to leave this world the same way. It's the only thing that makes us common as human beings. So I'd encourage you to vote yes on this. It's simply educational, and it is not political whatsoever.
Thank you. Further remarks on House Bill 1313? Further remarks? Senator Grove.
Thank you, Mr. President. I apologize. This has probably already been said, but I'll just reiterate this, that they don't have, like, we're not picking a video for them. They choose the video. They go through the whole process that the schools go through to do their curriculum. They choose, they make the decision what video is best for their class that they're going to show it in. That's it. So it's really not taking away a bunch of control. It's just saying, we want this video to be a part of the curriculum, and they work with their people and figure out how to put it in. It's really a good bill, and it shouldn't be political, like the previous speaker said. It's literally how we come about, and so that's all that it is, and it's very good. And so I would just suggest your yes vote.
Thank you. Further remarks? Would anyone wish to speak before Senator Smith speaks a second time? Senator Smith.
I'm not saying that this video that we saw was political. I'm saying Section 3 of this bill, by saying who can and who can't produce the video, makes it political. And that is political. Everything we do here is political. So I find it disingenuous when we say it's not.
Thank you. Further remarks? Senator Blanc, do you have a closing?
I appreciate my good friend from Minnehaha's opinion. I think that if you have a question on Dr. Graves' support, you know his phone number, you could call him. Concerning the calling into question if this is political, this is not political. This is educational and instructional. Let children see and hear the truth about human development and trust them to come to their own conclusion on how they choose to value life. School students watch all kinds of videos in their classrooms every day. Many on the topics of science, videos on the laws of motion and physics, videos on the origin of the universe. Then there are biology videos and cell cycles and cell division, videos on gene progressions, video on Darwinian evolution. Occasionally we'll get a video on special creation, videos on the human respiratory, digestive, reproductive system. And in that pattern, what a great opportunity to show a video of the fascinating, it's attention-grabbing, brain-capturing wonder of the development of human life. It's one thing to read the words out of a biology book or even to see pictures associated with them, but to watch one of these well-produced, short, animated videos, this is not something we should only encourage children to view. It would be wise for all people, regardless of age, to visually have implanted in our memories the marvelousness, I don't know if that's a word, but it is now, marvelousness, beauty, and complexity of human life. I encourage you to vote yes on HB 1313.
Thank you. Seeing no further remarks, the question before the Senate is final passage of House Bill 1313. When your name is called, those in favor vote aye, those opposed nay. The Secretary will call the roll.
Senators Beal excused, Blanc, Carly, Crabtree, Davis, Dibert, Duhamel, Foster, Grove, Hone, Howard, Hulse, Jensen, Carr, Colbeck, Lapke, Larson, Marty, Melhoff, Miskimmons, Nelson, Otten, Perry, Peterson, Pischke, Reed, Roll, Sauter, Shanefish, Smith, Vilhauer, Voigt, Voida, Whip, Sickman. Mr. President, we have 31 yeas, 3 nays, 1 excused.
So House Bill 1313, having received an affirmative vote of a majority of the members elect, the President declares the bill passed. Are there any questions on the title? Seeing none, it is deemed correct. Senator Melhoff.
Personal privilege, Mr. President.
Granted.
Thank you, sir. Today I've had the pleasure of having my daughter, Mary, former Page, hanging around. She joined us up in Commerce today, and she had lunch with me, and she's here in the chamber today to watch us do our work. So I'd appreciate it if you'd all welcome Mary Donna Francis to the Senate.
And we are up to the signing of bills. The Constitution of South Dakota requires that bills be signed in open session and have their titles read.
Did we get it?
Didn't you read it in reports of committees?
We did.
We should do that.
We already read it.
We have to. We take action today or tomorrow? I think you do it the same day.
We talked about this.
John. Senate Bill 3, Conference Committee report. We act on it.
Is there an interview? We had the meeting yesterday.
The meeting was yesterday. We received the report. We read it.
I think as long as we've read it, it can be the same day.
While we're looking into that, I'm going to sign bills. This time, the President is signing Senate Bill 237, an act to require that counties provide written notice to township supervisors of conditional use applications and appeals. Now the President is signing Senate Bill 236, an act to create the County and Township Infrastructure Fund for the accounting, safekeeping, and allocation of unobligated rural access infrastructure fund monies. Now the President is signing Senate Bill 177, an act to clarify the requirements for marking an optical scan ballot. Now the President is signing Senate Bill 176, an act to amend the period of time before which ballots and other election materials may be destroyed following an election. Now the President is signing Senate Bill 154, an act to clarify the eligibility of multiple garages or structures to be classified as owner-occupied. Now the President is signing Senate Bill 111, an act to require that social media companies provide collected personal data of a user at the user's request and maintain transparent interoperability interfaces. And now the President is signing Senate Bill 87, an act to clarify and establish requirements related to forensic medical examinations. And now the President is signing Senate Bill 60, an act to restrict ownership of real property interests by certain prohibited entities and to provide for enforcement. And now the President is signing Senate Bill 35, an act to revise the process for requesting a veteran's certificate of discharge from a county register of deeds. And now the President is signing House Bill 1046, an act to authorize the Department of Corrections to demolish the Peer Minimum Center, to make an appropriation therefore, and to declare an emergency. Now the President is signing House Bill 1084, an act to amend provisions pertaining to public availability of information contained in certain records. Now the President is signing House Bill 1106, an act to revise the terms of County Extension Board members. Now the President is signing House Bill 1162, an act to add certain substances to Schedule 1 of the Controlled Substances Schedule. Now the President is signing House Bill 1169, an act to classify medetomidine as a Schedule 3 controlled substance and to establish permissible uses. That's it. Without objection, we're going to revert to order of business number 5, reports of committees.
Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Appropriations reports that it has had the following under consideration and returns the following recommendations. House Bill 1089 returns without recommendation. Submitted, Ernie Otten, Chair.
And now we are up to announcements. Senator Hulse.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Judiciary will meet in room 412, which is not where we typically meet, 15 minutes after we adjourn this afternoon to finish the balance of our agenda. Thank you.
In a different room, pay attention to that. Senator Lapke.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have some exciting breaking news. I've been informed by Mr. Chair that we will start joint appropriations at 11 o'clock tomorrow, believe it or not.
Soft. Senator Reed.
Thank you, Mr. President. We will have local government tomorrow at 10 a.m.
Senator Dibert.
I have two announcements, if you'll bear with me. Number one is no Senate transportation tomorrow. I think we're done for the year. Great job, committee. And I'll also mention that tonight there's Roger Tellenhusen Retirement Party. It's at 211 East Prospect, which is the South Dakota County's office. We all known him for a long time when he was AG, and we've seen him in the Capitol for years. So I wanted to make sure we invite you all. It's from 5 to 7. Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Jensen.
Thank you, Mr. President. Health and Human Services will meet tomorrow morning, 7:45. Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Peterson.
Thank you. Senate Taxation will meet tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock.
Senator Perry.
Thank you, Mr. President. A couple things. Tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock is State Affairs in room 414. And tomorrow morning at 7 o'clock is the Catacomb Caucus in the large conference room. And you're welcome to come, interns, pages, legislators, constitutional office, constitutional offices, staff, everybody. And then tonight at 7 o'clock, one of our senators is putting on a community, at the Community Church, a Bible study, and that Community Bible Church. And then tomorrow in the evening at 8 o'clock is at the Red Rosa, the Capitol Commission. Thank you.
Very good. Anybody else?
Senator Voigt moves that the Senate do now adjourn.
It has been moved and seconded that we adjourn. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. We are adjourned.